Libra, this is your astrology forecast for May 2016. Thank you for joining me. It's really nice to be with you today. You have two of your personal planets in retrograde in May, so that's going to come across and that's going to manifest itself in your life. From the 28th of April to the 22nd of May, Mercury goes retrograde in Taurus in your 8th house. So Mercury is the communication planet. When it's in retrograde, it appears to be going backwards. So you will feel a little bit out of sorts when it comes to sharing the ideology or viewpoints of some sort of corporation or institution, when it comes to filling forms, when it comes to legal matters. Those will seem much more complicated and you will feel on the outs when it comes to that. You're naturally someone who is able to see other people's points of view and to feel like you can fit in. So you're going to feel that specifically, and you're going to feel like you need to work extra hard to get the point across or to hear what you think you're hearing. So really double check those things. From the 17th of April to the 29th of June as well, Mars, the warrior planet of desire and energy, that's in retrograde in Sagittarius in your 3rd house of communication, making communication even more difficult for you. You're not going to be particularly invested in other people's points of view, and you're going to be quite certain about the way you perceive things to be. Combined with Mercury, you may feel a little bit alienated or by yourself, isolated with your own views and opinions. And if you look at it from one sense, that could make you feel a little bit anxious and just bewildered because you're not used to it. On the other side, if you look at it from a positive angle, it really gives you a very independent viewpoint and perspective. And if you look at what you're thinking, what you're engaging with, what your response is to any particular subject, politics, art, travel, sport, you're going to have a very unbiased voice. And if you're a blogger or a vlogger or a journalist or a writer or someone who's a public figure, you're going to have a very unique point of view. So use that for your advantage, and it's going to be heartfelt and genuine. On the 1st of May, there's a grand trine in the chart, which is an area of ease and talent. It's in Earth and it's there pretty much all month. And this is where it gets a little bit complicated. Jupiter is in Virgo in your 12th, the Sun is in Taurus in your 8th, and Pluto is in Capricorn in your 4th. So this sense of having a transformed perspective, I think what you do think that you are strongly connected with is your own opinion, but also the opinion of your higher self, the spiritual opinion, the view of the universe. So you will feel massively entitled, and that's going to give you a very no-nonsense, matter-of-fact, take it or leave it approach, which on the downside is somewhat blunt. On the plus side, people will know exactly where you're at, okay? So if you have had problems to communicate your real feelings in the past, or if you've been too indirect that people have sometimes misunderstood you, you're not going to have that problem this month. Be careful of possibly offending people and being a little bit too outspoken, and also having an opinion that really goes against the grain. So if you're deliberately trying to irritate people so you can get attention, this is your month. If you're trying to keep the peace, then really just think before you speak very carefully. Venus is in Taurus in your 8th house as well, and the irony here is that your Sun and your Venus are in this 8th house of other people and institutions, and the way you see it is you really want to belong this month. You want to connect with other people, but you do feel on the outs, and that's where the contradiction comes into place here. If Mercury weren't in retrograde up in that 8th house, I would say that you're going to have a great month working in teams and with other people, and it's all going to be fabulous and hunky-dory, and you can really even excel in your career if it has to do with work. It is in retrograde though, okay? So what that means is you have to find a different way of connecting with people, of getting your point across, and you really have to work hard on that. So for information exchange and communication, I would give you a 3 out of 10. It is going to be somewhat of a struggle, and it's going to feel labored. On the 4th of May, there's a grand trine in fire. And what this shows me is that an area that you will find much easier to communicate in, and the people that you will feel a sense of belonging with, are your family members. If that's usually work, and if you have to really struggle, and if it's an effort to kind of get on with people in your family, you will find that much easier. So the tables are kind of turned a little bit this month. On the 5th of May, the moon starts to conjunct the midheaven, and this is a great day for you in terms of your career, especially if you can put yourself in a position of leadership. If you can put yourself in charge, in the spotlight, and say, this is what we're going to do, you follow me, it will be a great success. So if you're in that position in any way, if you can start a new project on this day, or if you can schedule the presentation for this day, people's attention will be yours, and you can take charge of that. On the 6th of May, the new moon occurs in Taurus, again in that 8th house, and it will pull in Taurus energy. So the feeling that I get is that you will have practical energy come into yourself, and you will feel like you want to get a lot of stuff done on your terms. However, the next day, when that new moon goes apart again and the retrograde Mercury sits in between them, you will feel a sense of frustration about these institutions, about these groups of people, and about how slow and clunky and unmoving they are, and how you can never get anything done. I think the 7th of May may be very frustrating for you, especially when you're trying to influence those outside of yourself. And I think around this time, at the beginning of May, you're going to feel much less frustrated and far happier if you can do your own projects and really engage with things that you have total control over, because you're going to be moving at a different pace and operating on a different wavelength than a lot of other people. Okay, so we'll all be looking out for the Librans in May, because they'll be sticking out like sore thumbs. The other thing that heightens that is that Jupiter is in your 12th, so you feel like you have this divine connection, and you're right. So that sets you up for frustration. The strongest element is Earth, so as long as you can get practical and as long as you can achieve and put your energy into something, that's the way to diffuse this situation. On the 9th of May, Jupiter goes direct. Jupiter is an outer planet, so it moves very slowly, and it spends 5-6 months in retrograde. So the fact that it goes direct on this day is significant. It indicates growth and success that speeds up, and the spiritual messages that you will continue to get through will be even louder, clearer, and will guide you in a very practical sense. So this is the month for you, Libra, to make yourself independent. It's almost like you're forced to, because you can't get on with people so well. So what is it that you can do by yourself? What unique, original idea can you come up with? On the 10th of May, the moon starts to trine Neptune. Neptune is in Pisces in your 6th. The moon is in the 10th. And you will have a very intuitive message about work that is going to enrich you. So it's almost like it's the wrong way around. If you had this intuitive message about your work at the beginning of the month, and then you could work towards it in the 10 days that have just gone, that would be great. But you're working by yourself, somewhat uninspired, very certain about your own views though. It's by working up to this that you get the inspiration on the 10th, and I suppose you already have momentum going there. So again, independent work is ideal for you. Career, 10 out of 10. Other people, not so much, 3 out of 10, and try and be self-sufficient. On the 12th of May, there is a T-square. Jupiter and Neptune oppose each other, and they form a triangle with Saturn in your 3rd, okay? Spiritual information. Oh, so you're going to feel like you have the spiritual insight and the knowledge to do something that is going to help humanity. And again, there's a sense of grandiosity. I am the genius here. I'm the one who has the information to heal people, to help people. It's like the island of Dr. Moreau, you know, the genius who thought he was doing all this great thing for science, when in fact he was creating monsters, so they exiled him to this island. It's a little bit of that. So if you have all of these fabulous ideas, don't just think them and feel separate and alien. Actually put them into practice and see if you can do something with them. yeah, so the other thing is Dr. Frankenstein. All of these things are coming into my mind. You know, it's that idea that I am this creative genius, but I'm misunderstood. So those people are very productive, but they often focus their energies on something totally unique. So, social acceptance or not, I don't think the outcome needs to be necessarily negative, but there is a certain hardness involved. You have the potential to create something great. Just make sure that it's genuinely helpful to other people and you're not trying to take revenge or get your own back on someone. On the 14th of May, the moon is now in Virgo in your 12th, and it squares Saturn. So really a very easy way of checking in with yourself. Is this coming from my higher self, this certainty, or is my ego trying to sabotage me? If it feels quiet and consistent, then it's the higher self and it's okay to move ahead with it. If it's loud and noisy and abrasive and it feels fearful and scary and angry, then it's the ego and you need to put on the brakes and stop yourself, okay? So check in with where the messages are coming from, because the one thing I will say is that you're full of energy and you're very productive. It's just the content of what you're actually doing. Is that right or wrong? So that window of being able to discern what you're doing, yes or no, good or bad, that is strongest between the 14th to 17th of May. Really check in with yourself, because on the 17th, Mars opposes the Sun, and it's basically me versus the system. So go against the system if you think it's right, but if you go against the system and then 2 days later you think, whoops, I was wrong, the system was right, I was wrong, then that, you know, you're going to have to eat humble pie. So this is a very intense month for you when you're deviating from the norm of compromise, of building bridges, of seeing everything in the other person's point of view, and it's all me, me, me. Under the guise of me as being helpful. Seems iffy to me. On the 18th of May, the moon opposes Uranus. The moon is now in Libra in your sign, so you feel comfortable, but you're being pulled to act independently, to do things your own way. And I think there might be even a little bit of resentment or self-resentment going on. Why am I so laissez-faire? Why do I always take a backseat? Why don't I ever get in charge? Why don't I tell these people who irritate me to just, you know, exit? Why? So really be nice to yourself. It sounds to me like you're going through a bit of a crisis here at the moment. On the 19th, the rising sign starts to square your Sun and Venus. The rising sign is in Leo in your 11th. So you feel like if you take charge, you can achieve your hopes and dreams. The 19th is a good day to actually achieve something that doesn't seem so filled with megalomania and which isn't there for the wrong reason. Again, that 8th house would look very well if your Mercury wasn't in retrograde, but it's almost like you're always getting the wrong end of the stick here when you come into conjunction with other people, and that's why you're going off on this tangent, because no one is there to check in with you. But what you need to do is you need to talk your ideas through with family members. They're the ones who are really going to be able to talk some sense into you this month and will help you and will prevent you from making mistakes. The full moon occurs on the 21st. That's in Sagittarius in your 2nd house, and this is actually a great day when all of this frantic energy of the month morphs and blossoms into a genuine opportunity, a genuine way forward, and you're being given a design, an idea, which you can use to create financial abundance and security for yourself. So it's not all wasted. It's like a creative process, and you've been bubbling along all month, and now something actually opens up for you. On the 22nd of May, thank goodness Mercury goes direct. So you versus everyone else, that stops now, and you start to realign yourself with the powers that be. You can get back into line. Oh, and isn't this interesting? So one day after you had your amazing, great idea, and all of this conflict, emotional conflict, was necessary to give you that idea. One day after it, you revert to type and you start to be a people person again. So there is something that is unique and useful that has to come out of you. It's like you're giving birth to something. Doesn't feel comfortable, but it is massively important for your future, your financial future. Wow, so actually it looked like a very troublesome month, but actually it's there for a reason and it will end in a blessing. On the 23rd of May, the moon conjunct Saturn, and that's in your third house. So the moon and Saturn, you know, poor delicate moon, crushed by this heaviness of Saturn. It's almost like you had this great idea and now you don't know whether you should continue with it. Was that just a whim, or was it a good idea, or am I being egocentric, or am I being... It's not a nice day. The 23rd is full of self-doubt. And again, the people who can talk sense into you and who can bring you down are your family members. 24th of May, Venus goes into Gemini in your 9th. And okay, you go off in a totally different direction now. You become interested in learning, in studying, in really hearing other people's views and opinions. So you do a 180. You weren't interested in anyone's idea before. Now you're totally interested in other people's ideas, and you become a sponge and you try and take as much on board as you can. Again, family members are going to teach you the best things at the moment, even if they're not an expert in whatever field you're looking at. I would stick close to family in May. On the 26th, Saturn opposes the Sun and combines with Neptune in your 6th. So it's your ideas versus other people's ideas. The way to judge them, whether something is useful or not, does it have some healing quality for other people? Is it going to benefit people? You know, am I writing a book that's going to help people, enlighten them, or am I writing a book that's going to horrify people and lead them down the wrong road? So you've really got to have a conscience here, and you've got to be discerning about what you're producing. That's really your job. So you are a genius in May, Libra. You have that genius quality about you. But are you going to use that for good or evil? Wow. On the 28th, Mars goes into Scorpio. So again, filled with doubt, possible resentment of other people who are successful, maybe why am I not successful? I don't care what I'm creating as long as I make money with it. So really, you've got a lot on your plate. The ultimate anchor and the root is spirituality and family, and I know I've said that a couple of times now. And you finish the month on the 29th, 30th and 31st with a grand cross in your chart. Even more energy, greater ability to study, to learn, to create. Certainty of what you're doing if it has a humanitarian positive aspect to it. So yes, Libra, it's a very powerful month for you. It's a very complicated month for you. You do have the potential to be very productive and to achieve great things, but like I said, it's really a matter of thinking, am I going to be a Dr. Frankenstein or am I going to be a Mother Teresa? And even if you're like sitting there watching this thinking, well, what's he talking about? I can barely tie my shoelaces. What genius, great thing am I going to create? Then this is whatever level you're at, okay? So whatever is above and beyond your normal level of expertise is something that you have access to in this month, and something that you're going to be kind of forced to look at. And what drives you towards that heightened ability mode is this sense of isolation and the sense of being different from everyone else that really allows you to give birth to something unique and creative. Not everything that's unique and creative is good, but at least you're being given the opportunity here to be a creator. So again, align yourself with the ultimate creator, with the universe, God, source, and you're sure to create something beautiful and wonderful. So please let me know how this month goes. It sounds like really something else, and I'm interested what you come up with. If you'd like a private reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. Click on the readings tab and you'll see the types of readings that I offer. This reading is for all Libra. So it takes all of those people born in that 30-day period into account. So a personal private chart is going to be based on your date of birth, your place of birth, and your time of birth, making it more specific. If you have questions about your career, about your relationships, then please get in touch. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I will speak to you next month.